probably done all of these, I think. And so this has been going on a long time. In case you don't know, his wife Allison is not doing real well right now. So I always, during the evening sometime before you go to bed, whatever, say a little prayer for Allison and the family, and John, because I don't know what we do without John Lauer. And you came in the parking lot, and you parked over here, you saw that SJCC sign up on the wall out there. It's beautiful at night. You make a special trip at night, just drive by, okay? It's beautifully lit up. John's in charge of that. We have a new flag in the gym that comes down from the ceiling. John helped organize that. I don't know if there's anything that he's done so much for the school, and I know he wants to be here tonight, but he's where he's supposed to be. So say a little prayer for Allison and John tonight. First of all, the 5 inductees, I've known them for a long time. They've all been pretty important to myself, okay? I've taught them, or I taught their kids, or I coached their kids, or they've been a big supporter of SJCC, and even Mike Gobble. And the cool thing about all this is, I have a saying I used to say as principal, the apples don't fall far from the tree. And the kids that they raise, their children, they're just like their parents. And they're amazing. Well, it's amazing what incredible job they did as parents, and their children continue to carry on the tradition of being good people, and the children really need to be here. So, these are not my words, these are John Lauer's words, okay? So if I stumble a little bit, please, I'm sorry about that. So, today we are here to recognize and honor 5 individuals that have been selected for the 2022 Heritage Award as 2022 Heritage Award inductees. This year the inductees are Tom and Kathy Stierwalt, Chris and Mary Knight, and Vince Militello. The award is to honor individuals for their support and contribution to Bishop Huffman Catholic School and SJCC to their communities. The SJCC Alumni and Friends Association is proud to give this award to very deserving individuals. This is the 22nd year for the Heritage Award. This award has now been given to 68 individuals, including 8 couples, that have made Bishop Huffman Catholic Schools and SJCC stand out in Fremont and other communities for their hard work, volunteer time, dedication, and involvement that these 68 individuals have given. There are plaques recognizing these individuals on the wall outside the Irish Media Center on the 3rd floor. These plaques list the many outstanding accomplishments of these individuals. The individuals are also listed in your program. I would like anybody here who's a previous Heritage Award winner to please stand. Thank you for all your support and all your continued support. The criteria for the Heritage Award inductees are the following. Candidates for the Heritage Award are to be recognized for outstanding support and contributions to their school and its surrounding Christian community. All candidates must have gone above and beyond the level of giving that has touched our family of Bishop Huffman's Catholic Schools, SJCC students, alumni and friends in their community. The level of giving must have been expressed in extra dedication and support of their talents, time, and experiences. The candidates may have touched our family in religious, community, or extracurricular programs. All candidates must set forth an exemplary level of Catholic and Christian ideals supported by and stated within the mission statement of our community, and will serve as models for future alumni and friends of Bishop Huffman Catholic Schools and SJCC. All candidates must have the above criteria and be a graduate, supporter, parent, friend, religious, or faculty and staff member. I want to congratulate Tom and Kathy, Chris and Mary, and Vince. The first 2 inductees are Tom and Kathy Stierwalt. To say a few words about Tom and Kathy is Madeline Stierwalt. 2019 graduate of SJCC. While at SJC, she was a cheerleader, swimmer, and school record holder in the 500. She's currently a senior at Malone University, studying exercise science. Throughout all 4 years of college, she has swam at collegiate level. She originally swam at Tiffin University, and after her freshman year, she transferred to Malone. After college, she plans to work as a pharmaceutical sales representative. So let's welcome Madeline.
We are here today in celebration of Family First. Not only have my mom and dad tirelessly dedicated their time and energy to our community, their surrogate family, but they have also given each of their children their undivided attention in so many ways as well. I remember once with Elizabeth, their first kid in the lineup, they drove hours to attend a cross-country meet with a birthday cake in their car. Or with their second, Thomas, when my dad decided to become an assistant scout leader so he wouldn't miss a thing. Then there were times with Tyler, who's their third child, when they dedicated hours to taking care of his home while he was deployed overseas. Kyle, the fourth in line, was no exception, as they spent days helping his catering business thrive. And they wouldn't dare forget about Sarah or me, their fifth and sixth kids, as they sacrificed so much to attend our sporting events all over the eastern United States. My mom and dad simply do not know any other way than to put their community and their family first, as God has called them to do. Mom and Dad, although you have always placed yourselves as numbers 7 and 8 in our family, today you are the first. Thank you for all that you do.
Number one, I'd like to apologize if anybody heard the speech yesterday, because my part of the speech is real similar to yesterday. Tom, of course, updated it. He's my comedian. The Mass yesterday was phenomenal. Here I am, Lord. I mean, it was all about giving service, wasn't it? It was awesome, Father. We'd like to first thank our Lord for this opportunity. Without Him, none of this would be possible. We would like to thank St. Joan Alumni Friends Association along with John Lauer, our champion. Thank you, Mr. Gobble, for stepping in. Let us keep Allison and John in our prayers. This truly is an honor to be nominated. We would like to thank Jenny Free, Connie Coleman, and Julia, Julie Kupka Brown, as well as Mr. Brown, and all of the staff at St. Joe, and more importantly, all of you. Because without all of you, this would not be important, this would not be going on. You can never say thank you enough. We have been nominated as a couple, so we will give our presentation. But to get married, to become one. We are now a member of this honor club, along with Mark and Nancy Riley, John Lauer, Bertha Snyder, Ethel Burkett, Joe Barber, Bob Moyer, Pete Bader, Rick Branda, as well as Hale and Diane Hawk, Marty Eberly, Jim and Mary Baker, Elaine Fisher, class of 73, and Mary Ellen and Tom Lane. Thank you, thank you, thank you. These are just to name a few. You can read your program. And now it's Tom's turn to talk.
When we were asked to make a little speech, actually it was 2 years ago when we were first asked, so this probably had 2 years prepared, but I crunched it into yesterday. We were given the opportunity or a suggestion that we talk about why we've chosen to be involved in our community. Because we were both products of and attended parochial schools, grades 1 through 8, we were exposed early and often in involvement in our faith community. In those days, it wasn't a question of would you choose to be involved? It was that you were voluntold to be involved. Turns out that voluntold is actually in the dictionary. It means someone who volunteers a person to do something for that person or someone else. Back in St. Anne's in the 1950s, Sister Theonella was in charge of voluntolding at St. Anne's. And I'm guessing Sister Stierwalt was probably about 5'2", about 109 pounds, of course dressed in all black like the Sisters of Mercy, and had that ruler in her left hand to whack you on the knuckles if you misbehaved. If you're a first grader at St. Anne's, you thought Sister Theonella was probably about 6'6", weighed 240, and she scared the heck out of you. She was in charge of the voluntolding process there. Generally what would happen is she'd pull a kid aside and she'd say, we need servers, and you're going to be one of them. You would make a good altar boy, which you can't say anymore, I guess, because they're no longer altar boys, they're altar servers. No kid ever had the nerve to refuse to comply with Sister Theonella's suggestions. Just didn't happen. Even if we did, she'd tattle to my dad, my parents. Dad would say, I hear you told Sister that you weren't sure you wanted to be an altar boy. Next thing you knew, he would put up with an excuse like, gee, Dad, I don't feel like I'm holy enough to be an altar boy. Just didn't work. Next thing you knew, back in those days, you were learning the Latin responses as an altar server, and you were putting on a cassock and surplice and kneeling at the altar. This exposure to volunteering actually started early. It really started in the first grade, because there is, unfortunately, I never bothered to make the picture bigger, so if you really want to see it, come by the table after it's over. It's a picture of me in my first volunteer job. That was a page. Sister came by and said, I want you to be a page. When you're in first grade, the only page you know is the one in the book. So I had no idea. But anyway, a page was part of the Solemn High Mass back in the 1950s. And they dressed it like kind of like a page boy in a medieval court. So that was my first gig in the world of volunteering in my faith community.
Of course, the volunteering system did not stop after elementary school. In high school, we were required to do community service. We did get a little more to say in that regard. We got to pick the type of community service we wanted.
My brother can attest to this voluntold system we had at St. Anne's. He's sitting right there, by the way. I don't know if it was one of the nuns or the choir director who voluntold him that he would make a good member of the elementary school choir at St. Anne's. The thing that Sister didn't know was none of the Stierwalts could carry a tune. Couldn't even carry it in a bucket. I think Bill ended up, after the kind of the tryout he was given, he ended up being put in the back of the choir in the section, you know, we had sopranos, we had baritones. They put Bill in the mute section.
After a time, we turned into our parents and realized as a volunteer, we also benefited. A sense of pride in the school and the faith community, making friends, and learning things.
The voluntolding system, after you get out of elementary school and through high school, you end up becoming a parent, and you're enforcing the voluntold system on your own children. It continued through all 6 of our children, and Madeline can attest to that, because I'll never forget one day when she discovered that she had been put on the list to be an altar server. And we were standing in the back of church, it was Sunday, and so she was scheduled actually, I think, for Christmas Day Mass. And Father Oxley, Father Tad, had the Mass. And Madeline's like, oh, I'm going to do that. I don't want to get up in front of all those people. And we ratted her out in front of Father Tad. And she was voluntold by Father Ted that she could do it and she'd be there.
One more person I forgot to announce was my godmother's here tonight, Rose Bowden. So thank you for making the effort to be in here. But we're not done yet. We have 6 more pictures. I joined the Air Force at the age of 40, late in life. It was an honor and privilege to serve my country. I firmly believe everyone should serve their country in some way or another. People do not realize with the military, you are deployed. It's like a little city. We need people to be cooks, computer operators, and this all was kind of like for the students at the assembly yesterday. I was being like a recruiter. I wanted them to think that they could let the military train them to do whatever they wanted. Computer operators, pilots, infantrymen, and I'm a nurse practitioner. But the military will train you, and after 20 years, you can get free health care called TRICARE for life. Right, Albert? Okay. Well, it really isn't free. You serve your country and you sacrifice for your country, and in some ways, you've been in harm's way. But I try to tell our students that you could join the Peace Corps or public health, but one way they should serve their country. Joining the Air Force taught me to volunteer. They asked that you serve your community to get promoted. We had to list what we did in our community, and then they added that on your OPR, or Officer Performance Record. It is a life of serving, my second family.
I can still remember the day in 1995 when Kathleen said, you know what, I think I'm going to join the Air Force. Now we remember it differently because I thought I was being tactful and just thought this in my head. No way they're going to take you. You're 40 years old, you got 5 kids at home. Ain't going to happen. She remembers it as, not only did I think it, but I said it.
Tom's love for running led him to volunteer and give service to the community, coaching junior high track and cross country. This is one of his volunteer gigs.
I was going to cut this out of my speech that I gave to the students. I was going to cut it out tonight. And then Mr. Brandis showed up. And he is in the Heritage Hall of Fame. And he is the godfather, actually, of junior high track and cross country. He started the program. I don't even remember how many years I was with him. But one of the memories I have, and it shows you the things, this was something I actually learned from the students when we were running. I used to run with them, so I dress in the running clothes, and we'd show up at the track, and off we'd go. One day we're running, and a couple of boys, one kid turns to me and he says, "Gee, Coach, you look awful funny in those short shorts." This was just after the day, most of them I didn't mention this in my presentation, but if you remember back to Larry Bird, everybody wore short shorts back in those days. I didn't even realize that I'd fallen out of fashion. So I went home and I said, "Kathy, we need to go to Dick's Sporting Goods tonight because I need some new running clothes." So, even when you volunteer, you learn things. Got shortened up. Mr. Brandon said he needs to be home for the Notre Dame game, so I got it.
Okay, and one more part of our assignment was, so not only tell us about why you chose to serve your community, and then it said, and anything else you would like to say. And this will be quick. One more thing that I tried to instill upon the students yesterday is there are 4 things in our life that need to be in order for good health: spirituality, emotional, physical, and sociability. But I was trying to instill into them that one of these we do not have control over, our emotions. Because we can cry, our mental health, we can laugh, and that just happens. But we need our spiritual life and our Catholicism, which is a sense of belief, and we should pray every day, and we should watch what we put in our mouth and what we do to work out in order to have all of these things in order. And then I said to them about Colin Powell, always said, surround yourself with good people, because you kids probably don't even know who Colin Powell was. Some of you might, was an Army general, and knowledge is power, and you probably don't even know who said that, but that was Nelson Mandela, and I kept encouraging them to do their research. Nelson Mandela was the former president of South Africa who was in prison for fighting for freedom and equality. Knowledge is power.
In closing, I think the bond holding system really works because it exposes our kids to community service, and hopefully it inspires them when they graduate and go on in the world that they're willing to volunteer rather than being voluntold. And I think maybe in truth, when you think about why did we choose to be involved in our community, it wasn't so much that we choose, but we were chosen maybe by God, who acted through Sister Mary Theonella. So thank you, Sister Theonella.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom and Kathy, and nice job, Madeline. Our third and fourth inductees are Chris and Mary Knight. To present Chris and Mary is their daughter, Taylor Damshorter. Taylor graduated from SJCC in 2003. She went on to attend the University of Toledo, obtaining a degree in middle childhood education in 2008 and a law degree in 2012. Taylor practices at Remington Company, LPA, with a focus on the defense of professional liability claim. Taylor married Matt Damshorter in 2008. They have 3 girls, Grayson, Sloan, and Hayes. In 2020, Taylor and Matt purchased Matt's family business, Roots Poultry, which is currently in its 92nd year of business. Come on up, Taylor.
All right, thank you. For those of you who know my parents, you know that they hate talking about themselves. So unfortunately, or fortunately for you all, I'm going to give their speech instead. So when I was looking at this award and trying to figure out what do I want to say about my parents, because I could honestly talk about them probably for hours on end. And I actually have to go pick my kid up for my birthday. We're going to be at 8 o'clock, so I don't have hours here today to talk. But I did what most self-respecting millennial would do, and so I Googled what the Heritage Award actually is, to see what you get nominated for, the things that they're really looking for in the inductees of the Heritage Award. And so one of the qualities that they had listed on there are outstanding support and contributions to their school and community, giving that has touched the SJCC family, that's expressed an extra dedication and support through time and talents and experiences. And when I read those words, obviously things that my parents have done would come to mind, but it really took me back to a speech that I heard through my exposure at SJCC with the Parker's Purpose Award with Rudy Rudiger. I think it was one of the first ones that they had. He came in, and I thought he was a really great speaker. And one of the things that he said is that you need to find the people in your life that are the when people and not the why people. And when I heard that at like 25, I was like, yes. When I want to do tequila shots, I totally need friends that are going to say when instead of why. That is really what I need in my life. But me now is like 37. I mean, I still kind of think that, but not so much. It makes me think of my parents, because my parents, I think, are a little bit different than most folks here, and they didn't grow up in the Fremont community, and they didn't grow up in the St. Joe community. My dad went to Lakota and grew up in Rising Sun, and my mom went to Ottawa-Glandorf and grew up in Columbus Grove. And the interesting thing about my mom, where she grew up, is that even though Ottawa-Glandorf was a public school, they were taught by nuns and still went to church like every week, which is weird, and I don't know that that would even be allowed anymore. But it was a really German Catholic area. And so the public school had nuns and went to church, just like we did here. So for all intents and purposes, she went to a Catholic school, but not really. And my dad was not Catholic and chose to be Catholic after he married my mom. lot of dedication. Because a lot of us, we sort of grow up in the voluntold system, as Tom said, and you don't really have to make a choice, but for my dad, it was a choice to join this community. And when they came here, not being a part of this community, I think that's rare. And you see most of the folks here, and if you look at the Heritage Award inductee list, most of those folks have a year behind them when they graduated from this school, and that was not my parents. But even though they didn't graduate from here, and even though they aren't from here, they still dedicated all of their times and talents to the school and the community, and they still do, even to this day, even though my family is the only one that still is a part of this community. So my brother and sister live in different states, and they are really the when people and not the why people. Anytime anyone needs anything, they will say when. They don't say why, they don't ask questions, they say when. They show up, and they show up however they can in that moment. And I remember when I was a kid, my parents were involved in everything that there was to be involved in. I think there's a list in the program, I sort of read it, but I remember much more than that. The spaghetti dinners, and the church festivals, and the pancake breakfast, and all of those things that for me, I never even really thought about because we just did it. It was never a question of, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna sign up? How are we gonna volunteer? They just volunteered for everything, and they were involved in everything. And so it's always strange to me and actually quite honestly, all of my friends' parents, the barbers and the baby owners that are back there, they all volunteered all the time. And that's what this community is everyone volunteers and everybody shows up all of the time. And I never even gave it a second thought that you don't show up. Because like I said, my parents are the when people and not the why people. I do think, to be honest, if I said, hey guys, you want to go do some tequila shots, they would definitely say why. But I mean, they'd probably do it if I asked them to. They definitely ask why though, for sure. But that's what this award is to me, and I think that's what this community is you need to find the when people and not the why people. And particularly, one of the things with the Heritage Award, it was extra dedication and support through times, talents, and experiences. And I remember when I was little, when I was younger, I should say, I remember my parents showing up and volunteering for everything, and they brought all of us kids along, and we all did it together. And then as I got older, but even now, I don't think they sort of volunteer their time as much. Probably when I was later in high school and when I was in college, I remember asking my dad, because one of the things that they always used to do is bingo at the Sacred Heart Festival. That was their thing. They volunteered for it every year. And I very distinctly remember the first year that they didn't do it. And I said to my dad, I was like, why aren't you doing it? That's your thing. Like, it was so strange to me because, like I said, they're the when people. They always showed up. And he said, we can give in different ways now than we could when you were little. And it's important for us to give in the ways that we can because there are people that the only thing they can give is time. And so we need to step aside and let those people give the time because we can do other things. We can give in other ways. And that's what they do. And that's sort of where they've gone right now, is they don't give as much time necessarily, even though they still show up for everything all the time. They just volunteer, I think, a little bit less. But it's perfect because it's given my generation, whose kids are now in school, the opportunity to step in and give the time that we have, because we can't give in the way that they can. And I think it's one of those things that they're always going to give in whatever way they have possible, whether it's time, whether it's experience, whether it's giving advice. I know there was a lot of times where I was walking down the hall and I would see my dad coming out of Mr. Gobble's office, and I was like, oh gosh, this is trouble, which is why I appreciate Mr. Gobble's "the apple isn't far from the tree" comment at the beginning, because I was like, oh man, we just started this night with a story about how I was in Mr. Gobble's office, so it's probably bad for my dad. But really, I think that's what my parents have taught us, and I think that's what they've taught, anyone who knows my parents. And I think if you ask any of my friends or any people that were sort of in the school system, when my brothers and sisters and I were in the school system, they all know Mr. and Mrs. Knight, and they all talk about seeing them all the time. I can't think of a school committee that my parents weren't on. I can't think of an event that was put on by the school that they didn't participate in. And I mean, my mom used to be the playground monitor when we were in grade school, and they used to do the concession stands. And I remember every Sunday after the auction, we would get up and clean up upstairs. That was super fun. And we also, every Sunday, we went to Sacred Heart. We went to 7:30 Mass every Sunday. Every Sunday. no matter what. And I remember asking my mom why once, and she said, why not? I said, oh my God, I have so many reasons why not. But we did, and they still do. I don't think they have the 7:30 mass anymore, but they still show up just like they always have. And so they're definitely those people that have taught us, don't ask why, just say when, and show up in every way that you can. And I know they're not going to be definitely going to talk, because like I said, they don't like talking about themselves. And quite honestly, like when they said they didn't want to talk about themselves, we took a vote in the family, and they decided I'm the funniest and the most charismatic member of our family.
She was the only vote.
I don't actually know if that's how they were calling the vote happening, but I'm on the microphone, so I can tell you that's how the vote happened. But I know that they are very thankful and are going to continue to show up for this community in every way that they can, quite literally until they can't do it anymore. So thank you so much.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Long-winded.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Chris and Marion. They were a great job. Our fifth inductee is Militello. To say a few words about Vince is Sophie Militello. She's a 2017 graduate of SJCC. While at SJCC, she participated in a variety of clubs and sports. After high school, Sophie continued her education at Michigan State University, where she graduated with a bachelor's degree in food service and technology. Currently, Sophie works as a head distiller at American Fifth Spirits in Lansing, Michigan. Sophie.
Hi, today we're here to honor those who do so much for our school and community. Way back when this originally got canceled, as a family, we decided to recreate the Heritage Award room. However, we made our own version. It was the Heritage Roast Award. For those who don't know what a roast means, it's a verb. It's to humorously mock or make fun of someone with a well-timed joke or comeback. Typically it's used with the term of endearment, see someone you love. But in all seriousness, it happens to my dad get recognized for the countless hours he volunteered here at the church and also at school. Something simple as going to the grocery store is never as simple or a small task with Vince, as you can always count on someone to stop and ask him for help, which turns into him personally walking them across the store to find what they need. When my brothers and I growing up, we found this very annoying, but we now understand whenever Vince can find the opportunity to help someone, he will. As a kid, whenever my dad was involved in something, we as a family would jump in right behind him, and I guess we never really saw it as service, but more something that we needed to do. For that, I'm thankful for my dad.
So, this is what the front of the house looks like. I'm usually behind the scenes guy in the kitchen. I want to congratulate my fellow recipients, Mary and Chris, Kathy and Tom, for all their continued support in making this community a better place to live, and I'm humbled to receive this honor with you all. If you all don't mind, I'd like to travel back in time. It was the year 1985. I had a mullet. I was thinner. And I look forward to hanging out with my friends every day. And I was a senior that could not wait to get out of this boring square town. I remember having a conversation with my father saying that there's no way I will ever end up living in Fremont, Ohio. Well, I assured Dad smiling because not only did I move back to Fremont, but I eventually moved back to my old house. But you know what? I wouldn't trade for anything. I love Fremont and being a part of Fremont, St. Anne's and St. Joe's parishes. I love supporting the schools and the people of this town. I have my parents, teachers, colleagues, wife, and kids that thank for being such a great examples of selfless love and helping others. By seeing them donate their time, money, and talents and services to others. I learn to give of myself daily, but there is another driving force for all of us to give of ourselves, and that is God. God has given us all talents that we are used to bring people to Him. Over the years, I have realized that we should actively use these God-given talents, the talent that you have that God gave you, to make this world a better place for everyone specifically. Every day I keep this in mind. Each day I try to cheerfully help those in need and hope they see a glimpse of Christ's love when interacting with me. When I'm up here, I want to thank a few people I've watched work tirelessly through the years at the schools and the parishes. They're those of the greats. They would be Tom Drusbach for helping out at St. Anne all the time when I was young. Tom Kaiser for his work starting the CEF. And Tom Babione for tirelessly keeping our school up to date on maintenance and upkeep. There are so many others that I could list as well. I've watched these guys think nothing of themselves, just of what needs to be done. The last person I'd like to mention is Mary Ellen White. She went about life quietly serving. She always had kind words about everyone. She was proud to be an alum and had a lot of enthusiasm for students, even if they had senioritis and wanted to move far away from that space. Then when she retired, she served in the cafeteria to give another generation of students a smile and words of encouragement. If it weren't for her and her husband Tom, I would not be standing in front of you today as one of the nominees for this award. But I also would be in front of you today with all the other people I've mentioned as well. Without me seeing their examples, I may have never been nominated. I only hope that I can set an example for future Heritage Awards recipients. Thank you for coming this evening. I'd like to thank my family for being here to share this. Thank you.
Congratulations, Vince, and Sophie, good job. In closing, the Heritage Award was started because we wanted to have role models for our students to follow. And Friday is supposed to be the big day where these people stand in front of our student body and tell them what it is to volunteer, and give these kids examples of people that, great role models in their life. I'm standing up here today, and although Vince is younger than I am, you're allowed to have a role model younger than you, all right? These 5 people are role models to my God, and I'm a better person because I know these 5 people, and I am so, so grateful that they've been part of my life. And once again, I want to congratulate you, but I need to thank a few people, the SJCC Alumni and Friends Association officers, President John Lauer, Treasurer Cindy Gobble, Secretary Julie Brown. I want to thank our principal, Loretta Coyle, the development office, Jenny Free, and Jenny is just incredible. She stepped into this role, and I think Jenny needs a round of applause. She does everything for us, and the BHCS, SJCC, and Alumni Association. I want to thank Julie Kuka Brown and Sherry Vigor from the SJCC cafeteria. helping us tonight, I appreciate that. We have our two world famous bartenders back there who are just, they're regular back there. Once again, there's never a banquet that goes down in this school that we don't thank Connie Coleman. All right, Connie and Jenny did a great, and alumni members did a great job transforming this into banquet halls. I want to thank everybody for attending tonight and to honor these 5 inductees. If you have anyone who you feel is deserving of this award, which there are many, many people, or we would not be here tonight, we wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for all the volunteers, the people that give their time, talents, their good fortune to us. We are so blessed, and it's a tradition that's going to go on for a long, long time. And the reason why it is going to go on for a long time, because people like these 5 people and other former Heritage Award winners. It's like I said, 39 years of my life. I went to school here for 12 years, so that's 51 years. I don't know how I can be 51 when I'm not that old yet, but if I'm a math teacher, so I can make anything happen. But we are so blessed. Our kids are so blessed. And I always have a saying, there's no place I'd rather be than SJCC. All right. So if you feel anybody's deserving of this award and want to nominate them, please, there are forms here at the school, and there's some out back there, I believe. I'm not sure, well, there should be, if there isn't, okay, Jenny, no. Okay, and once again, I want to congratulate Tom and Kathy, Chris and Mary and Vince. The bar will be open for a while. Please feel free to socialize a little bit. And, I was going to wear my Guardian shirt tonight, but I didn't think my wife would be happy if I tore my shirt. It said Guardians, but good luck to the Irish. Go Guardians, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Right.
Congratulations on getting mentioned.
Oh, my God.
I really need to.